Welcome to the New Life Stories channel. We hope you will have fun with us. Enjoy watching.
Rebecca stared at the sterile walls of the fertility clinic, the scent of antiseptic hanging in the air. She had always been the obedient daughter, following her wealthy father's wishes without question. But the pressure to fulfill his desire for grandchildren through IVF was pushing her to her limits. The doctor's words echoed in her mind. "You'll make a great mother, Rebecca. It's a small sacrifice for the family legacy." As she sat in the waiting room, her thoughts were a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. She felt torn between her own desires and the expectations thrust upon her. In the dimly lit room, Rebecca's phone buzzed. It was a message from her best friend, Emma. "Rebecca, you don't have to do this if you're not ready. Your father can't control your life forever." The words struck a chord with Rebecca, making her question the path she was about to embark on. Later that evening, she found herself alone in the elegant mansion her father had provided. She sighed, contemplating the weight of her father's expectations. The door creaked open and her father, Alan, walked in with a stern expression. "Rebecca, this is not just about you. It's about our family legacy," he declared, pacing the room. "You're the only one who can carry it forward." "But Dad, what about what I want? What about my own dreams?" Rebecca's voice wavered with a hint of defiance. Her father paused, his eyes narrowing. "Your dreams should align with the family's success. This is not negotiable, Rebecca. Tomorrow you'll go through with the procedure." As her father left the room, Rebecca sank onto the plush couch, feeling trapped. She reached for her phone and dialed Emma, her voice cracking with emotion. "I can't believe I'm doing this. I feel like I'm losing myself." Emma's comforting words came through the line. "You have a choice, Rebecca. Don't let him dictate your life. Find your own path." Deep in thought, Rebecca whispered to herself, "What path do I want? What kind of life do I truly desire?" Little did she know that this internal struggle would set the stage for a series of unexpected events that would change her life forever. The following day, Rebecca woke up with a heavy heart, the impending IVF procedure looming over her. She couldn't shake the feeling of being trapped in a life not of her choosing. As she prepared to leave for the clinic, she received a mysterious email from an unknown sender. The message simply read, "I can help you." Perplexed, Rebecca hesitated but ultimately decided to respond, "Who are you, and how can you help me?" The reply came quickly, "Meet me at Jefferson Park at 2 p.m. Your dilemma will be solved." Despite her reservations, Rebecca found herself drawn to the idea of an escape from her father's control. She arrived at the park, nervously scanning the surroundings. A stranger approached her, a rugged-looking man in his early 30s. "Rebecca, I presume?" he said, a crooked smile on his face. Surprised that he knew her name, Rebecca eyed him cautiously. "Who are you, and what do you mean by helping me?" The man introduced himself as Mark, his eyes reflecting a blend of curiosity and empathy. "I overheard your predicament. I've been in tight spots myself. If you want, I can be your husband for an hour, just long enough to get your father off your back." Rebecca hesitated, the audacity of the proposal sinking in. "You want to pose as my husband. Why would you do that?" Mark leaned in, lowering his voice. "I need some quick cash, and your situation seems like the perfect opportunity. You get to avoid the IVF, and I get some money. Win-win." Torn between desperation and caution, Rebecca weighed her options. "How can I trust you? What's your story?" Mark sighed, his eyes revealing a hint of vulnerability. "I've been through rough times. Lost my home, my family. I can relate to the struggle. This is just a business transaction for me." Rebecca considered the risks but found herself nodding in agreement. "Fine, but this has to be discreet. I can't risk my father finding out." As they shook hands, a clandestine partnership was formed, setting the stage for a peculiar alliance that would test the boundaries of trust and lead them down an unexpected path. Rebecca and Mark's unlikely alliance began with an awkward agreement forged in the secluded corners of Jefferson Park. The plan was set in motion. Mark would play the role of her husband for an hour, long enough to appease her father and put an end to the invasive fertility treatments. As they prepared for their charade, Rebecca couldn't help but feel a mix of anxiety and curiosity. She watched as Mark adjusted the collar of his borrowed suit, looking strangely out of place in the affluent surroundings. "Are you sure about this?" Rebecca asked, her eyes searching his face for any signs of hesitation. Mark chuckled, a wry smile playing on his lips. Relax, Rebecca. It's just an act. We'll get through this, and you can go back to your life. Their first encounter as a Fox couple took place at a high-end restaurant, chosen by Rebecca to maintain the illusion of a glamorous life. They stumbled through awkward small talk, the dissonance between their worlds palpable. "I must say, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, you make a striking couple," the waiter commented, oblivious to the clandestine nature of their arrangement. Rebecca forced a smile, glancing at Mark, who managed a smirk. "Thank you," she replied, her discomfort hidden beneath a veneer of politeness. As the hour progressed, they navigated the intricacies of feigned affection and scripted conversations. Unexpectedly, a genuine camaraderie began to emerge. Mark's guarded exterior softened, revealing glimpses of a man who had weathered life's storms. "Why are you doing this?" Rebecca asked during a quiet moment, away from prying eyes. Mark sighed, his eyes clouded with memories. "Survival, I guess. Life dealt me a tough hand, and I've learned to play it the best I can." Rebecca sensed the weight of Mark's past, a stark contrast to the opulence surrounding them. "You don't have to share if you're not comfortable," she offered. He shrugged, a mixture of vulnerability and defiance in his eyes. "Maybe one day. For now, let's just get through this hour." As the curate continued, a peculiar bond formed between Rebecca and Mark. The facade they presented to the world began to blur with genuine moments of connection. Little did they know that their alliance would evolve into something beyond the confines of their initial agreement, setting the stage for a journey neither of them expected. Rebecca and Mark's elaborate ruse encountered an unexpected obstacle when, during an evening stroll with their pseudo-family in the park, a routine encounter with the police threatened to expose the fragile nature of their arrangement. As they meandered through the well-manicured paths, pushing a stroller containing borrowed babies, a pair of police officers approached. Suspicion lingered in their eyes as they scrutinized the mismatched family. "Good evening. Mind if we ask what you're doing here?" one officer inquired, eyeing Mark and Rebecca with a hint of skepticism. Rebecca, attempting to maintain composure, responded, "Just enjoying a family walk, officer. Is there a problem?" The other officer, unconvinced, glanced at Mark. "You two don't seem like your typical parkgoers. What's the occasion?" Mark, quick on his feet, flashed a charming smile. "Celebrating our anniversary, officer. Thought we'd take a stroll with the little ones." The officers exchanged glances, suspicion still evident. "Can we see some identification, please?" one of them requested. Rebecca's heart raced as she fumbled through her purse for her wallet, beads of sweat forming on her forehead. Mark, noticing her distress, discreetly nudged her. "Stay calm. We got this." As the officers scrutinized their IDs, Mark engaged them in casual conversation. "Tough job you guys have. Dealing with all sorts of characters, I bet." The officer examining Mark's ID nodded, his stern expression softening slightly. "You have no idea, especially with all the weird stuff happening in the city." Rebecca, finding her identification, handed it over with a forced smile. "We're just trying to enjoy a peaceful evening, you know how it is." The officers, satisfied for the moment, returned their IDs and bid them farewell. "All right, enjoy your anniversary. Just be mindful of the park rules." As they walked away, Mark whispered to Rebecca, "Close call. We need to be more careful. This charade just got a whole lot riskier." Rebecca, her nerves still on edge, nodded in agreement. "Let's stick to the plan, but maybe we should lay low for a while. We can't afford any slip-ups." Their brush with the law served as a stark reminder of the precarious nature of their arrangement. Little did they know that the challenges they faced would only intensify, pushing their unconventional partnership to its limits. As the curate continued, Rebecca and Mark found themselves spending more time together. In moments away from the public eye, their connection deepened, revealing vulnerabilities and stories that neither had anticipated sharing. One evening, as they sat on a secluded bench in Jefferson Park after another successful public outing, Rebecca decided to broach the subject that had been lingering in her mind. "Mark, there's more to you than meets the eye. What's your story?" Mark hesitated, staring into the distance before sighing. "You really want to know?" Rebecca nodded, her curiosity piqued. "We're in this together, right? I think we owe each other some honesty." With a resigned look, Mark began recounting his troubled past. "I grew up in a small town, just an ordinary kid with big dreams. But life had other plans. My family fell apart, and I ended up on the streets. It was a struggle just to survive. Rebecca listened intently, her heart going out to the man beside her. How did you end up on the streets? A bitter smile crossed Mark's face. It's a long story involving bad choices and even worse luck. One day I found myself homeless and everything spiraled from there. Eventually, I got into a situation that cost me everything. Rebecca, empathizing with his pain, offered a comforting touch on his arm. I'm sorry, Mark. That sounds incredibly tough. He looked at her, his gaze softening. Survival became my priority. I've done things I'm not proud of. But now this, pretending to be your husband, it's a means to an end. I need the money. Rebecca, touched by his honesty, spoke earnestly. You're more than your past, Mark. We all have our struggles. What happened doesn't define who you are now. As the evening unfolded, Mark reciprocated by delving into Rebecca's upbringing in the opulent mansion. Your father adopted you, right? What was that like? Rebecca sighed, memories of a strict upbringing surfacing. I was adopted at a young age. My father, Alan, provided everything I could ever want, but it came with a price. My life was meticulously planned, controlled. I never had the chance to be myself. Mark nodded in understanding. Sounds suffocating, but why the pressure for grandchildren? Rebecca leaned back, looking up at the stars. My father believes in legacy, in continuing the family name. And I, unfortunately, became the vessel for his ambitions. Their shared revelations deepened the bond between them, transcending the confines of their temporary alliance. Little did they know that their newfound connection would be put to the test as their lives continued to intertwine in unexpected ways. The fragile web of secrets and lies that Rebecca and Mark had woven around their charade began to unravel when Rebecca's strict father, Alan, grew suspicious of their seemingly picture-perfect family. He launched his own investigation into Mark's background, fueled by a fatherly instinct that something was amiss. One evening, as Rebecca was putting the triplets to sleep, her phone buzzed with an unexpected call from her father. Rebecca, we need to talk. Come over now, he demanded, leaving no room for negotiation. Anxiety gnawed at her as she arrived at the imposing mansion. Alan, stern-faced and composed, sat in the study, surrounded by the opulence he had worked so hard to amass. Rebecca, I've been looking into Mark's past. Who is he really? Rebecca feigned innocence. Dad, he's just a friend helping me out during a tough time. Why are you snooping around? Alan, unyielding, slammed a file on the table. I found police records, details of a difficult past. You think you can keep this from me? Caught off guard, Rebecca stammered. I didn't mean for you to find out. Her father's eyes narrowed. He's more than just a friend, isn't he? What are you hiding? Rebecca, cornered and desperate, decided to reveal a partial truth. Fine, Dad. Mark is a friend I met during a tough time. He's been supporting me emotionally. Alan's stern expression softened, but suspicion lingered. Emotionally, Rebecca, there's more to this. What aren't you telling me? She sighed, carefully choosing her words. He has a troubled past, Dad. But he's trying to make amends. I didn't want to burden you with it. Alan leaned back in his chair, studying Rebecca intently. Troubled past or not, you can't keep secrets from me. We need to confront him. The tension thickened as they confronted Mark later that evening. Mark, oblivious to the impending confrontation, greeted Alan with a cordial smile. Mr. Thompson, what brings you here? Alan, his voice steely, confronted Mark directly. I know about your past, Mark. You've been hiding it from us. What's your game? Mark, caught off guard but maintaining composure, responded, I've made mistakes, Mr. Thompson, but I'm trying to turn my life around. I didn't want to burden Rebecca with my past. Rebecca, caught between her father and the man she had come to rely on, spoke up. Dad, please, he's just helping me. Let him explain. As Mark began to recount the struggles of his past, the room was filled with a charged silence. Alan, conflicted, listened to the tale of a man seeking redemption. Little did they know that this revelation would set the stage for a surprising turn of events that would reshape their understanding of family and forgiveness. The revelation of Mark's troubled past hung in the air as Rebecca and her father, Alan, faced the unexpected truth. Mark's honesty about his difficult journey sparked a surprising turn of events that began to shift the dynamics within the room. Alan, known for his stern demeanor, sat in contemplative silence. Rebecca, you brought this into our lives without consulting me. What do you see in him? Rebecca, standing beside Mark, responded with sincerity. Dad, he's more than his past. He's been helping me when I needed support the most. Can't you see that people can change? Mark, aware of the tension, spoke directly to Alan. I'm not proud of my past, Mr. Thompson, but meeting Rebecca and being a part of this, however unconventional, family, it's given me a chance to be a better person. Alan's expression softened, but skepticism lingered. How can I trust you won't bring more trouble into my daughter's life? Rebecca, taking a step forward, pleaded, Dad, please. Mark has been there for me in ways you never were. We're not perfect, but can't we try to understand each other? A heavy silence enveloped the room, broken by Alan's sigh. Rebecca, you've always been my daughter, and I only want what's best for you. If you believe in him, I'll try to see beyond his past. The acknowledgement from Alan opened a door to forgiveness and reconciliation. Mark, sensing an opportunity to mend bridges, added, I know I've got a long way to go, Mr. Thompson, but I'm committed to making amends and proving that I can be a positive force in your daughter's life. Days turned into weeks, and as Mark continued to be a steady presence in their lives, Alan gradually began to accept the unconventional circumstances. The unexpected alliance forged in deceit evolved into a genuine connection, bringing about a newfound understanding among the three. Rebecca, witnessing the gradual transformation, felt a sense of relief and hope. Dad, I didn't mean to bring chaos into our lives, but maybe this is an opportunity for all of us to change and grow. Alan, still grappling with the shift in his perception, nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps you're right, Rebecca. We all need a chance at redemption. As the days unfolded, the trio navigated the complexities of their evolving relationship, proving that forgiveness and reconciliation could emerge from the most unexpected circumstances. Little did they know that their journey was far from over, and the future held the promise of a more united and resilient family. With the revelation of Mark's past and a tentative truce established, the unconventional trio, Rebecca, Mark, and Alan, embarked on a journey toward a new beginning. The dynamics within the mansion shifted as forgiveness and understanding began to take root. Rebecca, feeling a renewed sense of agency, approached her father one evening. Dad, I appreciate you giving Mark a chance. It means a lot to me. Alan, still adjusting to the paradigm shift, responded with a hint of vulnerability. Rebecca, I may not understand everything, but if he makes you happy, that's what matters. Meanwhile, Mark, aware of the fragile nature of the newfound understanding, continued to prove himself through actions rather than words. Mr. Thompson, I want you to know that I'm committed to being a positive influence in Rebecca's life and the lives of these children. Alan, though reserved, acknowledged the sincerity in Mark's words. Actions speak louder than words, young man. I'll be watching. As the days passed, the mansion buzzed with the activities of an unconventional family finding its rhythm. Mark, once a stranger hired for an hour, became an integral part of the household. His interactions with the triplets became more genuine, and even the strict routine imposed by Alan began to soften. One evening, as they sat in the living room, a surprising suggestion emerged from Mark. Why don't we take a family trip? It might be a good way to bond and start fresh. Rebecca, intrigued by the idea, turned to her father. Dad, what do you think? Alan, considering the proposal, nodded. A change of scenery might do us all some good. Let's give it a try. Their destination was a picturesque coastal town, a place that offered a serene backdrop for a family seeking unity. As they strolled along the beach, the triplets giggling in the sand, Rebecca couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the unexpected turns life had taken. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alan spoke, breaking the contemplative silence. Rebecca, Mark, I never thought I'd find myself in this situation, but maybe, just maybe, we can build something meaningful together. Mark, humbled by the acknowledgement, replied, Mr. Thompson, I appreciate the chance you've given me. I won't let you down. The coastal town marked the beginning of a new chapter for the unlikely trio. The echoes of forgiveness and reconciliation resonated in the air, creating a foundation for a family that had defied convention and found strength in their differences. As they stood together, facing the vast expanse of the ocean, the future seemed uncertain but full of possibilities. a new beginning for a family forged in the crucible of unexpected circumstances.